My goodness, I didn't realise someone was watching me. The desk neighbours are being absolutely dreadful. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dion Mark Show. Today's video, we're going to be making the Simplicity pattern 1961, printed in 1940. It is obviously a vintage pattern and it is in vintage condition. I purchased this pattern from Etsy, and there are a few other ones. I think I counted another 3 of this pattern that was on Etsy as well. The pattern isn't overly complicated. If you know how to sew, you'll be able to breeze through this. If you're a first-time sewer, you're probably better off to watch the video. There's some things that get a little bit confusing if you don't know how to actually put together a garment. Now, having said that, it was a blast, it was easy, and it was one of the most funnest sewing projects that I have done where I was not stressed. So, I am making option 3 in this video, which is the short sleeve option. I am wearing said shirt now. Now, you can choose to have the option of doing pockets on the top or on the bottom. I opted to do neither. I wanted to do a shirt without pockets. And I think it actually turned out quite nice. Now I'm using obviously a linen fabric. I'm using a fabric called Soft Rose from the Remnant Warehouse, which is located in Sydney, Australia. I also am wearing some high-waisted pants that I made, which will be in another upcoming video. So make sure you subscribe to see that one. That was a little bit more stressful. Men's pants are a little bit more complicated. Hey everyone, so I'm back, so everything is now officially cut out. Okay, so the first instruction is to do the gathers in the back seam. So that's what I'm going to go and do. I mean, you'll get to see that with me doing it. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start doing the gather. I am gathering the top of the back piece. Now I am on a stitch length of 5, which is the widest stitch length my machine will do. Now I'm just stitching through. I'm using the outside of the presser foot as a guide. I'm obviously stitching within the seam allowance. I'm only doing 1 row of stitching for my gather. I'm very confident it gathers, so I don't really see the need in this sort of a situation to do 2 rows. You can do 2 rows, you can even do 3 rows if you want to. Now don't do what I just did, which was forget what you're doing. My machine has been doing this lately. I think it just needs this really good service. That's not the thread. Anyway, that's another issue. Okay, so you can see that I went just a few stitches past where I should have gone. So what am I going to do? Not grab an unpicker, because I don't want to break the thread. I'm going to grab a pin. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and I'm going to very gently pull it out. To get rid of the messy threads. Okay guys, so as you can see, the machine's actually kind of gathered it for me. And so I kind of like doing the 1 row. The 1 row kind of is like, yes bitch. Whereas the 2 rows is more like professional fish. There's a difference. Okay, so I don't have the... what you should do... gather it. I'll just do like a loose gather. I'll just do like a rough gather. And gathering is just pulling. Don't force it, because you'll snap the thread. So when you're doing this, you kind of just want to sort of lightly push. And if it's not coming easy, then it's not working. So don't force it, because you'll snap the thread. Step 2, stitching back piece to yoke and yoke to front pieces. Okay guys, so I'm now just pinning the yoke to the back piece. I'm pinning wrong sides together. I'll repeat it again, wrong sides together. We're doing this because when we do the yoke facing, that encapsulates all the raw edges. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. And then we're going to go and stitch that across, obviously at the seam allowance. So I'm now just going ahead and stitching the two front pieces to the yoke. Again, wrong sides are together. Step 3, iron raw edges into middle of the yoke, press and seam allowance of yoke facing, then top stitch on. Hey guys, so we're back, so now we're going to just iron, ready for doing the next bit. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm not going to worry about ironing this, I'm just going to iron at the seam. So we're ironing it upwards, which it already naturally wants to do. And I'm using a steamer. Now a really good tip, if you're wanting to make it really, really nice, you can go one direction, and then the other. Now if you're using delicate fabric, then you could say it's delicate. But if you were using like super delicate fabric like silk, make sure you use a pressing cloth. Cool. So then with this one, I'm just going to iron it one time this way, and then this way. Okay, so I'm now just pinning on the yoke facing. Obviously I have ironed in the seam allowance and I'm pinning the yoke facing on top. This is concealing the raw edges, and after you top stitch that on, then that piece is now the right side of the fabric. It's good. Okay guys, so what I'm doing is my marker is going to be the foot. So the inner part of the foot, just that inner bit. Now, my needle is on a setting on mine which is number 4. So what does that mean? That means that the needle is directly in the center. There is also a setting number 3 where it will be on the left side, but for this one I have it directly in the center, and so that will allow me to have a very tiny stitch. But when I say tiny stitch, I mean it's going to be quite close to the edge but not on the edge. I'm just taking my time, being quite slow while doing the top stitching. Remember, this is going to be visible to anyone who looks at the garment. Step 4. Pin sleeve into armhole, right sides together, stitch, then stay stitch around collar. Okay guys, so what I'm doing here is I'm going around the sleeve and I am doing an ease stitch around the sleeve pieces. Now I'm doing this on a gather stitch, so it's a number 5, and we're just going between the marked notches on the sleeve. Now I'm only doing one row of stitching. My machine actually is pulling the thread, so it's pretty much gathering, as you can see here. And then I'm just going to loosen that just a little bit as I pin in. The objective is that it helps the sleeve fit into the armhole. You do not want to have it gathered that it's so visible, so that's not the point of this. So if you pin it and it looks gathered, then you've obviously stay stitched too much. So as you can see here, I am just pinning that in, and I'm just you can see I'm matching the notches, but I'm just adjusting the stay stitch ever so slightly to make sure that it's not too, yeah, it doesn't look gathered, because I don't want it to look gathered. As you see here, I'm just adjusting that, just making sure it all fits correctly and that the notches do match up. Now, if the notches have a fraction out, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes that can be like a cutting issue, so I wouldn't stress. Anyway, so now I'm just stitching the sleeve into the shirt. Obviously I'm stitching this normally, so this is now right sides together as you're stitching, versus before it was wrong sides. So now we are stitching right sides together. For the rest of this, we're pretty much stitching right sides together. And again, I'm just checking as I go. As you can see here, it's pretty good. Definitely needs an iron, as you can see there, but it's stitched pretty straight. I'm pretty happy with it. And so now we're just going through and doing the collar. So we're doing a stay stitch, and that's just going to turn the two the two yoke facing into one piece. It just makes it easier when you're doing the collar, to be honest. And we're just going just a normal stitch right through. So stitch side seams and attach interfacing to collar. Okay guys, so I'm back after pinning. So I've pinned up from the sleeve to the end. What's important here when it comes to make sure you start pinning at the top of the sleeve. Well, actually no, the first pin I put in is at the seam, the underarm seam, making sure they match, and then I pin out to the edge of the sleeve. I kind of ignore the notches at this point, because I think the most important thing is that this matches and then this matches. And then I go all the way down. Now, the weirdest thing, so this one you're supposed to turn it inwards, so you get this like straight line here. Sorry, got a bent pin there. Ignore the bent pin. And that's on both sides, which is when you cut it out, it's cut diagonally in. But the interesting thing is, to get it to look straight, it has to. This in here is not going to be straight. It's really odd because like here is short, bigger. You know what I mean? And I just spent like 15 minutes trying to work out why I can't get this to be like a completely straight line if I follow that. So you don't follow that. On the other side, on mine, there wasn't as much of a gap. And again, same sort of idea. It just got bigger and bigger. When you put these together, you know it's done right. When you put these together, and it would be still part of the seam. So you can pull it together like that. No, it's still almost like it's part of the seam. Because the seam allowance is like here. So all that's in the seam. Hey guys, so we're back. So we are now on to the collar. Now, of course, I have cut 2 of the fabric and 1 of interfacing. I know that I have to interface this side. I'm going to now do that. So, shiny side on the fabric. Now, what I do now is I cut just a fraction off all around. If you've got a straight line like the top here, and you don't want to have to trim the whole thing, just fold it over and then use your scissors and cut it. Anyway, so I'm just doing a very slow pull across. Step 6. Stitch collar pieces together, leaving between the notches open, clip into corners, turn side out and press. So what you see me doing here is I am just stitching, obviously with the seam allowance, into the points, and then turning it. You know, take your time here because it's the 1940s and the collar is one of the most important parts of this shirt. So it's really important that you definitely sew it correctly. And so I am taking my time here. Obviously this footage is sped up, but I did spend quite a bit of time making sure that I stitched this correct. It's been pulled through, put in the corners. I've also put some fray stop just on the edges so that I can get them as pointy as possible. So now we're going to iron it. Step 7. Stitch collar to shirt matching notches. Okay guys, so just a quick overview. Let me know if you want a dedicated video on how to do a collar. So I am stitching straight across and then lifting up the fabric where the notches are and just stitching through that one interface piece to the shirt. The interface piece is what is facing the shirt, by the way. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and do that. Take your time, you know, make sure there's no fabric caught. And yes, that is lifting up the fabric of one side. That's very important. Okay, so now we're going to iron up the raw edge into the collar, and later we're going to top stitch the collar front down covering that. So now I am just going ahead and going around the facing piece of the shirt front, and I am just binding that edge. So I am just going through and almost doing a rolled hem with my foot, but I'm just turning it in, doing a zigzag stitch or an overcast stitch. This one is more of an overcast stitch. If you have an overlocker, you could omit that step. So now you can see I'm just showing you what I did. It looks fine. It's nice and neat, and there's no exposed edge. So that was the point of that. Okay guys, so now we're doing the facing because that's what we just overlocked or overcast. So now all you do is you pin back the facing to the collar. The end of it should go pretty much back to just near the seam. Then you'll iron it and then you'll go over and top stitch it over the top about 1 millimeter from the edge. As you can see here, I am just trying to adjust it because it needs to be quite neat. Now, it's not that complicated because all you do is you pull it back and then you turn it inside out. Hey guys, and we're back. So I ended up stitching 1 millimeter from the, sorry, let's go up close. Cool. Feel my nails. Okay, so I ended up stitching 1 millimeter from the edge, not on the edge. I think, because I have some shirts next to me and I'm just sort of like comparing it, so I think that's better. So it's going to be really straight all the way down. Obviously I haven't done the hem yet. So when you're doing this and you're putting it on yourself, you would first do the hem, and you'd take it up. Then this would go over the top, like that. But because this is going on an actor and he's not here to try this on, I'm going to do the hem over the top. That is just so that if on the day that this doesn't fit him, we can quickly unpick the hem and quickly redo the hem in the hour or so before he needs to shoot. That's just a thing. Anyway, so the next step is either the hem here or the sleeve hem. I'm going to go have a cup of tea, and I'm going to work out if I want to do the sleeve hem first or the shirt hem, and then I'll be back. Hey guys, so I did the hems off camera. I am trying on the shirt over the top of another shirt so you can see that through. I have a pair of high-waisted 1940s men's pants on over the top. There's actually a video coming for those, so subscribe if you want to see that. So what I have left to do is the buttons and the buttonhole. I'll do those off camera, just to save video space. There is a lot of videos on how to do them on the YouTube. I love how this looks, guys. I think it's really flattering. Hey guys, just thought I'd quickly show you that I marked out the buttons. I brought out the pattern piece and marked it where each button was to go. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was an optional 6 up the top. I'm not going to do that. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to measure in probably about there on each one and do the buttonholes on the machine, and then I'll sew the buttons in and we'll be back. Hey everyone, as you can see, we are done. Thank you all for watching this video. It's been absolutely incredible to show you, and I hope you see some more videos. Oh, the video's finished already? Well, you best subscribe to see more videos, darling. Go on, just subscribe, just down below. Go on, do it, do it, do it.